So I'm Chris Lunch. I'm the director and co-founder of InsightShare, which I direct with my brother, Nick Lunch. My background is in anthropology, and so when I was actually studying, I found it very academic and was quite frustrated with it. I never thought I'd end up working in that area, but it has been very useful actually in my work. It's something, when I started actually applying some of the principles in real life, it became more interesting. In terms of which fields I've carried out projects with design thinking, it's something for me which I've heard about quite recently in the last year. But it's when I see what it is and how it works, I see that that's what we've been doing. We're doing that in many ways, with some differences which are very interesting, and so I'm very interested to learn more about design thinking. I think those kind of projects that I showed, the one about the Cali Road, working as a consultation tool and bringing together diverse populations and hearing their opinion, and we're always looking to go straight to the users and the people who are experiencing the problem, let them talk about it, explore it, find the causes, and then share also the solutions. So I think nearly all our projects are using design thinking. I think it's what I like, some of the things at this stage, in terms of my knowledge about design thinking, that I like about it are, well, firstly, that it's a whole kind of systemic approach. So it's a methodology which takes you all the way through from A to kind of Z. And I really like the iteration, so the way that there's a problem posed and then worked on, then maybe it's adapted and evolved, and then the prototype idea, that's something very interesting. I mean, in our work, we tend not to work with physical prototypes, but it would be social innovations and ideas. And this is something I'm really keen to, I think, taking our work to another level. It would be very interesting to use design thinking, and we're doing a project right now actually in Leeds, in the city of Leeds, in the north of England, where we're working with a partner called the Young Foundation, and it's really about bringing together citizens and different partnerships, private, public, and putting the citizen as the social innovator, which I think is really the area of design thinking I'm interested in, which is about social innovation. So the techniques, the structure, the framework, I think is very useful for people who maybe haven't had a lot of experience. I think they can follow that framework and the steps. It's nicely laid out. So a lot of these things, you know, when I see that, I think it gives me ideas for how we could evolve our own approaches in participatory video, but especially how we could integrate them. An example from work we did with the Nike Foundation in Guatemala and Uganda, 2 countries. The Nike Foundation works with a lot with empowering young girls between the age of 12 and 15, which is a very vulnerable age for girls all over the world. And so we worked with some local organisations who were doing projects with girls, girl empowerment projects, and our task was to monitor and evaluate to see what was working, but to do it from the point of view of the girls themselves. So what I really like about that project is how the team that we worked with, so there were 12 girls from each country, became skilled in using the camera and actually collecting stories from their peers and filming each other and helping their peers use the camera. And they managed to collect really powerful stories of changes that had happened in the girls' lives, and also suggestions, things that were able to be used by the project implementers to adapt it and change their project, or to enhance areas that were working well. There's this really good feedback, and that's what excited me about it, the feedback from the people who are being affected by these projects, the beneficiaries, and the implementers, which doesn't happen very often. Usually that kind of feedback might be done by an outside expert, but here it was done by the girls themselves. And what was fantastic was they were able to present their results back, do the analysis of what was working, make video reports, and present it back to the funders. So it made a direct link between the girls, the local implementers, and the international funders, the Nike Foundation. And then they were able to go to a conference in Turkey, some of these girls, to present their findings to other people who are working in girl empowerment programming, to show what was working and what wasn't working. So suddenly you have the the beneficiaries of projects, girls from Guatemala, very marginalised indigenous girls, who are able to talk in front of a conference of delegates from all over the world, implementing girl programming, telling them what is working and what isn't working, and sharing their experience. And that's the kind of thing that I want to see more of. I think the future of design thinking, I think design thinking has a really interesting future. At this conference, we say that you're looking back 10 years. It's come a long way in 10 years. So if we think about the next 10 years, I think what we see with participatory video is really a way of going directly to the problem through the eyes of the people experiencing the problem, and giving them the tool of the camera and being able to, so that they can actually do the research, they can do the analysis, they can go to their neighbours, their peers. It's a lot more, the door's open for them, rather than us as outsiders trying to facilitate a process. They're insiders and they can take control of that process, and they will be the best ones to push it forwards, to mobilise support around it. So that's when, and also of course they make films. So, you know, I say that our first aim is not to make a film, it's to bring people together, to act for change. But of course there is a film which is produced, which is very useful to then share that to wider community, to get even more interest, more mobilisation. And that's what you need in order to make these changes that we want to make. The changes that will come up through the workshops, working with a target group. You know, there's often going to be barriers to actually implementing those. And one of the best ways is to be able to share these films and create dialogue around them. So all of those things I really think could really enhance and complement the design thinking approach.